हेलो, कैन यू हियर मी? इको नहीं हो रहा ना एंड में? इज इट क्लियर इन द एंड? ओके ओके फाइन. Okay, little technical glitch, it's still not working. Okay. Cool. So, how many of you know Flutter? Wow. Okay. So, if you know Flutter, then say Flutter. You want this energy, okay? Let's try once again. If you know Flutter, say Flutter. Okay, cool. So we are going to see Flutter Web. Okay, how many of you have actually tried Flutter Web? Wow. And how many of you think Flutter Web is ready? Look around you. Okay, so my job is to convince you that Flutter is ready. Okay, so are you with me? Did you want Flutter in web? Why? You just want to reuse your code, right? Lazy people. Flutter is making all of us lazy. And it's all because of Pawan Kumar. He convinced everyone of us to use Flutter, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. So this is the agenda. I think this TV is not working. Yeah. So components is Flutter. Okay, you know Flutter website, right? Flutter plus website. So we'll first see some components to figure out how a Flutter website will look, how many things we have in Flutter website, okay, and Flutter. Then problems with Flutter website. Okay. Flutter web is not ready yet. Do you agree with me? Okay, who does not agree with me? Who thinks Flutter is ready? Okay, he is ready. He had done something. Okay, then solution to those problems. Yes, there are problems, and we'll see solutions to those problems. And then, this is the conclusion that we want to say in the end, that is it good? Is Flutter Web is good to use in production in 2023? Or we can say 2024, okay? So, in the end Q&A, we'll skip that, maybe. I think a great introduction is already given by Prem. So I'm Vivek Yadav. I work as tech lead at Tata Neu. How many of you have used Tata Neu app? Okay, quite good. So Tata Neu app is an e-commerce application, a super app application where you can get everything from from bananas to Tata Motors. Basically, you can get everything on the Tata Neu app. Okay, apart from that, I am also community organizer at Flutter Mumbai. How many of you know Flutter Mumbai? Okay, so Flutter Mumbai is one of the first Flutter community started in India, and one of the most active Flutter community as well. And apart from that, Flutter India. How many of you know Flutter India? Flutter Conference India, FCI. You guys use Flutter, right? Do you guys go and Google, okay, how many conferences are happening around Flutter in India? Okay, only one. Cool. I will encourage all of you to go and search for how many Flutter communities are in India. Is there any event happening around Flutter around your area? For example, in Bangalore we have Flutter Bangalore. Do you know? Okay, you should know. Cool. Apart from that, I'm also a mentor for Google for Startup. So Google for Startup is a branch of Google where it helps startups with accelerator, funding, and all of the other stuffs. Okay, so that's me. Let's jump into Flutter components, Flutter web components, or basically web component, right? So first is Flutter. Yes, that's culprit, right? Flutter in Flutter web is culprit. How many of you agree with me? Because you have not used Flutter for web. So as soon as you compile Flutter web, okay, there are several components that will compile, or basically will go into final product. The first thing is Flutter, which is around 1.6 MB. So basically, whenever Flutter engine. So whenever your client, or basically you, will write yourwebsite.com, which is built in Flutter, it will start downloading Flutter engine or flutter.js or canvaskit.js, whatever you say. I am saying Flutter. Okay. So it will start downloading Flutter, which is 1.6 MB. And if your network is slow, it may take more than 20 seconds. So that's why I was saying Flutter in Flutter website is culprit. Because if you remove Flutter from Flutter website, it will take hardly a second to load. Yeah. Okay. So next is browser and JavaScript. Yeah, they are components, right? Without browser, you can't run a website. And without JavaScript, you can't imagine a website, right? Is there anyone who is writing codes without JavaScript? Okay, Flutter guys, don't raise your hand. Flutter compiles into JavaScript. Okay, then security. As soon as you launch your web, or basically you create a website, if you're an enterprise company like Tata Neu or any other company, okay, you have to cater or you have to do something for security. Okay, so that's one more component. Then initial loading. So Flutter Web will take more than 20 seconds if your network is slow. If a network is very good, I'm saying 5G with 1 Gbps, it will still take 3 seconds. Okay, it will still take 3 seconds. So initial loading is still very high in Flutter Web. Okay. Next is URL handling. You know your website can have multiple URLs, right? Do you agree with me? No. Or is there a case where your website will only run on a single URL, like SPA? No, right? Yeah. But Flutter is an app. And Flutter have only one entry point. It does not have multiple entry points. That means Flutter is built with the mindset of application, with single entry point. But websites can have multiple entry points. It can be a case that if your pages, if you have 100 pages, then you might have 100 entry points, right? So that's one issue as well. Navigations. So navigations in Flutter is very easy, right? You use navigator.push, pull, sorry, pop, and everything works, right? But in case of web, it is different. Because you have push, pop, okay, replace, and along with that, you have refresh button on top of browser. Along with that, you have navigation back and forward on the browser. Okay, and that's culprit in navigation. Okay, because if you know, Flutter runs on a canvas, right? So basically, there is a browser, then canvas, then Flutter. So there is no direct interaction between Flutter and browser. So if a user is hitting back button or your user is hitting refresh button, your Flutter won't know directly. It has to go via something, right? Same thing happens in your mobile app as well. When you hit back button, your Flutter app knows via method channel or via some channels, right? So that's one component as well as issue. Then caching. Why caching is important for Flutter? Because you are downloading 1.5 MB of Flutter every time you are loading your app, right? So that means you should cache whatever is a common thing or whatever is a common files you have downloaded, right? So caching is also one component when it comes to Flutter Web. Okay, you can take pictures of it if you are interested in Flutter Web. Okay, cool. So after first slide, how many of you are with me? Do you think that Flutter Web is ready for production? Ooh, yes, no. Okay. Basically, I'm doing my job in a very good way. Okay. So I convinced you that you should not use Flutter. Okay. Let's see problems. Yeah, problems with Flutter website. So we have multiple lists. Okay. The first one is build size. Okay. Now that you know, Flutter build is very heavy because it includes Flutter components. Okay, and which will be loaded initially, right? So that is an issue. Is there any other issue with build size? Actually, yes, Flutter compiles, but basically Flutter compiles Dart into JS, right? So there will be some converters, some other files as well. So your application is really big as compared to normal Next.js, Okay. Then load time, I think you already know, right? So load time is also a biggest problem. Actually, load time is the biggest problem for us or for everyone. Okay. Then JavaScript, yes, JavaScript is a problem. How many of you agree with me that JavaScript is a problem? Okay, rest of you who has not raised your hand, do you know Flutter? Okay, sorry, wrong question. Do you know Dart language? Do you want to learn another language, JavaScript? No? So you think JavaScript is a problem, right? No? Then you should learn JavaScript. Okay, cool. So I'll share you a story. So I was building an application which had 120 features or more than that. And so we built in such a way that every feature will have one same common file, okay, which we will leverage. And if it is the same common file, usually we will name it, we'll have same name, right? For example, it's a feature.dart, okay? So we had 120 files known as feature.dart, and they had same object. That object or basically that class is features, okay? And in that they will list down, that class will take a lot of other things, page, dialogues, and blah, blah, blah steps. So basically we had 120 objects which was compiling into features. And guess what? Our application crashed as soon as we introduced 120 first feature. And guess what? It was working fine on the mobile app. So as a Flutter dev, what you do, you code in Flutter Web, Flutter Mobile, and then you just run it on website, right? And if something is wrong in the website, then that will be wrong in the mobile as well. But everything was running fine on the mobile, but there was something crashing in the web. And as you know, JavaScript is really good when it comes to errors, exceptions, right? You agree with me? And guess what? Who was culprit? JavaScript. And I personally don't like JavaScript. JavaScript, HTML, CSS, yeah. I once started doing web development in college and then dropped it. And then I started with cryptography. I thought cryptography is easy. See my obsession with these websites. So I was very bad with JavaScript, so I was not able to figure out if JavaScript is a problem. So I consulted with many people, and then I got to know, okay, JavaScript is not able to handle conversion. And guess what was the solution? I renamed all the files, and then it was working. So that's why JavaScript is a problem. I used to think JavaScript is my friend, but no, JavaScript is a problem. Then cross-origin functionalities. Okay, take an example of Zomato. Okay, how many of you know that Zomato have multiple companies inside it? How many of you know? So basically, they will have multiple companies. They will be working with multiple vendors. So there will be different websites or different origins, okay, from where Zomato will be called, right? So that's where cross-origin functionalities come into play. But Flutter is not really good with that. Flutter is not really good with that because, again, same issue. Your browser, Canvas, and Flutter, right? So basically, you have to write a lot of JavaScript code. Okay, we'll talk that later. Then no sync between browser and Flutter Web. This is a very big issue for us because at any point of time, you don't know what is state of your browser. If user is reloading it or user is closing your web, until you write some functionality like method channel. In JavaScript, we have interop. So until and unless you write those functions, you will never know what is state of a browser. And if you don't know what is state of a browser, how you can be sure that your application will work fine? You won't be able to manage states, right? If your application, if browser is closing your web app, and if you don't have a callback, how you will store your state? And if you're coming again, then how you will restore your state? So that's again a problem. Okay. Then there's one more problem, that navigation buttons. Okay. Because when you click on navigation, it will call a JavaScript function. JavaScript function will call your Flutter. Then your Flutter web application will come to know, okay, that user have hit that back button. Okay, there's one more problem. Refresh screen. How many of you hit refresh as soon as you think that website is not loading? Right? You think your Wi-Fi is good. You think your device is good. You think everything is fine. It's just website has been crashed, right? But as soon as you become developer of that website, that order is reversed. You are at bottom of the list. That my website is really good. Your device has issues. Your Wi-Fi has issues. You might not have enough RAM, right? But yeah, so I'll tell you a story of refresh. How many of you heard of Flutter engine? Okay, Flutter engines, they're really good. Because they're the one who is actually running your Flutter app, right? But guess what? They're the actual problem when it comes to Flutter website, right? So I told you, right, you have only one entry point, void main. You don't have any other entry point. So as soon as you hit refresh, your application will start a new engine. Yes. Look at his expression. He's like, oh my God. I had same expression, yeah. So let's say that you did a navigation from login, home, and some other page, okay? And on that page, you hit refresh. Your void main will be called. You will initialize all your feature. You will initialize all the plugins, okay? And then what you will do? You will load your initial page, right? So yeah, a refresh screen is a big problem. And there is an elder brother of refresh screen. He is hard refresh. Anybody know soft refresh and hard refresh? Yeah. So in hard refresh, a browser actually deletes a lot of data and then it starts refresh. Okay. And in that case, you even don't have a clue if refresh has happened or not. Okay. So bad, worst, and then hard refresh. Then Flutter engine, I think we already know. Okay, Flutter engine is our friend in only mobile. Then cross-platform implementation. Okay, how many of you actually write code for all platforms? How many of you have written, if platform is Android, then do this. If platform is iOS, then do this. If platform is web, then do this, right? Issue there is very different. So Flutter is running on 2 platforms. Everybody says 7 platforms, right? Android, iOS, Mac OS, Windows. But after working for Flutter Web, I came to a conclusion that Flutter works on 2 platforms, just 2 platforms. One is web, and then rest of the other platforms. Because all the other platforms are called as native. Mac OS application is native, your iOS application is native, Android, Windows, all the other applications are native because they run on a machine. But web, it runs on Chrome, or basically a browser. Okay? So if you want to, basically if you call an API, which says, if K is web, okay, then do this. Your application will crash in mobile, and vice versa. So when you are running your application on web, you have to make sure that your imports are right. You will be like, kya bol raha hai? Imports are right? Yes. So you have to write a condition in your import that if this application is running on web, then import this or import that. Okay? Then only you will be able to implement all these cross-platform things properly. Okay? I think we don't have anything else. Oh yes, accessibility. How many of you know accessibility? Yeah. So Flutter is really good with accessibility. And how many of you agree with me? Nobody. Look, I am doing my job really well. I've convinced that not you guys, you know, that Flutter is really bad in every aspect, right? Yes? Yes? Okay. So these were problems, right? But we have a solution. Okay. We have a solution, and I made my application very fast that I can even launch it right now. For example, for a demo purpose, I've created my portfolio website in Flutter, and that runs very, very, very fast, okay, as compared to other websites. Okay, I'll give some tips, and for more things which are not here, you can connect with me. Okay, so let's see some solutions. The first problem was build size. Yes. So what is the issue with build size? Issue with build size is that you have to download everything at once, right? But tell me one thing. When you are loading your initial page, basically splash page, do you need login feature, home feature, or basically any feature? No, so just defer it. So there is a way of deferring your imports. When I say defer imports, you're basically not importing your file until it is asked to. Okay, so it's like a future builder. Okay, and whenever you know, okay, I want to load home page, then you say download home page files. Okay, so this way your build size will reduce drastically around 70–80%, excluding Flutter engine. Okay, so yeah, and then load time. As soon as you used deferred loading on app startup, you only have to download the features that you required, right? You might use Altix plugin, so you have to download that. You might use multiple widgets on the home page or loading page or whatever is page, okay? So you have to just download that part. So now loading time from 8 seconds will come to 4 seconds. Okay, because now you don't have to download that extra 2.5 MB or 3 MB or whatever your Flutter Web was. Okay? JavaScript. Okay, so make sure that your features are not colliding with JavaScript features. Okay, because so I gave you example, right? That variable wala part. There are more examples like divide by 0, if you know. And there are so many things or so many problems with JavaScript. So you have to make sure that while writing codes, okay, you're not colliding, or basically you're not exposing yourself to those JavaScript problems. So for that you have to be JavaScript expert, right? And how many of you hate JavaScript? Start loving JavaScript. So it's like you don't have an option there. He's your manager and you can fire him. So yeah, if you want to work with Flutter Web, then you have to love two things, browser and JavaScript. Okay? Then cross-origin functionalities. So works normally as other websites because it is a website. Okay, you have entry point, you have files, you have CSS, JavaScript, whatever is that. Okay, you have everything there. You can do SUI as well. So cross-origin functionalities works very well. But again, because you have single entry point, so whenever some other website is trying to load your website via different entry point, you have to make sure that you have implemented your application in such a way. Okay? No sync between browser and web. For that, navigations, right? Navigation's biggest issue when it comes to sync wala part. Because as soon as you loaded your application, you don't have to do anything unless user hit refresh button or back button or something, right? So use URL strategy. How many of you know URL strategy? Okay. So this URL strategy is provided by Google Flutter. So you can go and find out set URL strategy function. It is available there. So it will help you to write strategies for a URL. It will expose some JavaScript functionalities to you, which you can utilize for yourself when dealing with refresh button, back button, okay, or forward button. Okay. I'll give you a very small example if you think that navigation is not too big for you. So in mobile, okay, your navigation is a stack, right? You push one page above other page. But in web, it is not stack, it is a list. You push page adjacent to each other, right? So whole navigation is different as compared to web and mobile. So make sure that whenever you are launching your application for web, you make sure these navigations work, okay? And you use URL strategy. Apart from that, refresh one, okay? So as soon as you hit refresh, okay, there will be one thing, there will be one person who knows everything about your web, and that is browser. And who can communicate with browser? JavaScript. So as soon as you hit refresh, JavaScript will get a callback that refresh was hit. Okay. So you may have seen many applications, they will show you a pop-up. Are you sure want to reload the page? Right. So basically they cache your refresh action and then they start doing something else. So similarly, you can also do things. You can expose a JavaScript interop, okay, which will help you to know that refresh was hit, okay, and based on that, you can store your data. Or basically, you can maintain your state, or you can show pop-up or do whatever you want, okay. Flutter engine. Now, when you hit refresh, you know Flutter engine will spawn. A new Flutter engine will come, okay. But if a user is hitting refresh on profile page, you don't want to load initial page, right? You want to load profile page. So yes, you can do that as well, because as soon as you hit refresh, your word main is called, unless your run app is not called, not run app, unless you don't pass material app to application, you have that data. That URL is not changed unless you pass a new navigator to the browser. Okay, so till that point, you can actually get that current URL. You can store it, and once your application is initialized, you can say, okay, my application is initialized, let's load profile page. Let's not load home page or other initial page. Okay? That was easy, right? Yes, no? Yes, okay. Cool. Cross-platforms implementations. Okay. I told you, right, if you do not import files properly, it will start breaking your application. And guess what? You won't even know about it unless you run your application and go at that particular feature. Okay? So unless and until you do overall QC or QA, you won't know if something is breaking your application or not. Okay? So whenever you do cross-platform implementation, make sure you do overall QC, or you do QC at least at those places where cross-platforms are used, okay? And one more disclaimer for you, that not every plugin supports JavaScript web, okay? So whenever you're choosing any plugin or any package, make sure that it supports web as well, if you are running for web, okay? There's one more thing you can do. So you know pseudocode, right? What is meant by pseudocode? A fake code, right? Or basically, you know Angel Priya? A fake profile, right? So you can fake your web, do some fake imports in your application as well. Okay, they are known as stub, S-T-U-B. You will find a lot of them in your Flutter repo. Okay, so what stub does, or what you have to do with stub, is that you have to check if this particular functionality is available for mobile. Okay, then import your actual file. Okay, let's say UPI. So you will import your UPI.dart file, but if it is not available for a platform which is web, so if you know it is web, then import stub underscore UPI. So stub file will have every functionality, everything, but it won't have any code written into that. So Flutter will think, okay, you have done implementation for everything, okay, but you are actually faking it. Okay, so this way you can actually load, functionalities based on platforms as well, okay, at import level itself. You don't have to do if my platform is this, platform is that. Cool? Then accessibility. How many of, okay, in the end, can you see the screen? Are you able to see that? Okay, great. So accessibility. So accessibility is not very great in Flutter app, okay. You get all the options that a website should have, okay, when it comes to accessibility, but its implementation is not there, okay. So I think Aroma or Arima some tags are there, okay, and those tags are available in Flutter website, but they don't have anything in that, okay. So you have to add accessibility codes by yourself, okay. How many of you know use of accessibility? Very less. And how many of you have implemented accessibility in your application? Very less, right? But you should do that. Sorry, you want photo of that? Yes. Yeah, please. Okay. So do you think Flutter website is great? Good, bad? Okay, good. Only one hand, two hands? Yes, no? Okay, and who still thinks Flutter is bad? And what rest are thinking? Are you moving to Next.js or JavaScript framework? Okay. Cool, I'm moving. So, these are again some things. You can take photo of it. Okay, I'll just skip. So these things will help you to write your application in better way. I guess that's it. Yeah. I don't have much time, otherwise I have explained these points to you as well. So if you follow these points, okay, your application will be faster by again 10-20%. Flutter Web I'm talking about. Okay. It will also help in normal Flutter app also. Okay. Done? Okay. Next. So this was the conclusion that we wanted to see. Is Flutter is really good in 2023, 2024. So yes, Flutter is good. Okay. Yes, Flutter is bad. Oops, it's not loaded. Okay, yeah. So answer is yes and no, both. Okay. Don't be like him. Sorry, like him. Okay. Don't be like him that, okay, Vivek, what exactly are you saying? I paid 2,000 for this. Okay. So let's see when Flutter is good for you and when Flutter is bad. Okay. Again, Flutter Web. So if you're cool with load time, okay. How many of you know Flutter Flow? That is built in Flutter Web. The actual builder part is built in Flutter Web. And they're cool with loading time. I'll tell you how. So whenever you load flutterflow.com, okay, so it never loads Flutter website. It loads a normal website written in JavaScript framework. Okay? And as soon as you hit go to builder, that's when Flutter starts loading it. Okay? So what they do? They will do one thing. As soon as you load your initial page, right? So you are now engaging with their landing page. And that's when they will start downloading flutter.js or canvaskit.js. So as soon as you hit go to builder, they already downloaded that 1.5 MB file. So you will never think, okay, there was some lag in that or not. So yes, if you're cool with load time, and this was one of the biggest secrets that I'm sharing with you, and biggest learning. If you're building a Flutter Web, application with Flutter Web, and if you want to reuse all your Flutter code, you can have a landing page built in the JavaScript framework, and until user is interacting with that page, you can start loading Flutter in the background. Okay? So yeah, if you're cool with load time, then Flutter is good for you. And if you don't want to build things differently, okay, let's say that your company have invested a lot of money building their Flutter application, and now they want a Flutter Web out of them, and they don't want to spend a lot of time, or they don't want to spend so much money on that, then you can use Flutter Web. Okay? Or you want to use website as a companion. Okay? How many of you seen that whenever you start a website, it will show download my app? Right? So if you want a website like that, and you don't know JavaScript website, JavaScript HTML, CSS like me, then you can use Flutter Web. Right? But if you're a web first, like IRCTC, I still hate its mobile app. Web is much better. So if you are web first, then you should not, use Flutter Web, at least for now, because you will start loading Flutter Web from the first page, right? Your user will have multiple links. For example, your website.com/profile. So in that case, you have to load a Flutter Web, right? But again, it will download 1.5 MB. Yes, it will cache if you have opened the application, before. But if a user is new, or if user is coming via deep link, then you have to download that 1.5 MB again, and that's a very bad user experience. Okay? So if you're web first, you don't have to use Flutter Web. And if you want to use mobile app as a companion, how many of you know that there's a lot of website which will let you download the app. There's nothing actually in the app. In the application, they will say, okay, this is your status, now open website. So there are lots of companies like that, and if you are like that, then don't use Flutter Web. And if you want to reuse the web features, okay, features of web frameworks, okay, there is lots of innovation happening in the web. Lots of things that is available on the web may not available on the Flutter or on the mobile. And if you want to leverage those things, avoid Flutter Web. Okay? One more thing. If you don't like Flutter, how many of you don't like Flutter? Okay, so I was at multiple places where lots of hands were raised. They didn't like Flutter. Okay. Again, if you don't like Flutter, then you should not use Flutter Web. Okay, cool. So now, how many of you would like to try Flutter Web? That's it. Come on, I want honest answer. Do you want to try Flutter Web? Okay. What about others? You don't want to try Flutter Web? Okay, you already tried, but what about others? Okay, ये बीच वाले क्या है? I mean, from row 3 to that 20, what are you doing? Are you watching me in that camera screen? Kotlin developer. Okay. Wait. I love Kotlin more than JavaScript. I was Android dev before Flutter dev. And after 1 year in Flutter, I got to know that if you don't know Android, you are nothing. Okay, so whoever was laughing here, okay, start learning Kotlin. Okay, that's fine, Kotlin? Cool. So, yeah, that was all about it. I hope now you know when to use Flutter and when Flutter Web and when not to use Flutter Web. And if you're going into Flutter Web, you know what things you have to do, okay, when you implement Flutter Web. Okay, any questions for me? Prem, how much time do I have for Q&A? That's it, okay. So we'll meet outside, okay? And meanwhile, if we are not able to meet, ping me on LinkedIn or Twitter, okay? You can scan this code, okay? I'm available so you will find a lot of links. I'm available on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram as well sometimes. So if you have any questions, ping me. I will try to help you out, okay? I might reply a day or 2 days after, but I will try to make a reply you.
Vivek, we can still have.
Oh, sorry.
We can still have 2 questions actually. We still have time.
Okay, okay. Yellow jacket.
Thanks for a nice session, Vivek. I wanted to know how to measure the performance of the website that you have built using Flutter. Largest contentful paint is an obvious choice, but that sometimes misleads, as you suggested, to preload the Flutter while your main page is being loaded. That actually increases your LCP to a number which is not actually true.
What is LCP?
Largest contentful paint.
Okay.
So if you measure through Lighthouse the performance of your web,
it won't give you any right answer. It will tell you that Flutter website is great. No. It will give you all the green lights.
Yeah. So any tips on how to measure the performance?
So there's one thing which is initial load. Try to find out what is your initial load, and it can be done via manual effort. You can write some code for that. Or that as soon as you load this particular widget, that means your app is loaded. Okay. So you can do some manual thing on that. Right now, there is no such tool available, okay? Because again, things are different. Your canvas then Flutter, right? So your website thing, canvas is loaded, that means the website is loaded. So that's wrong thing for it. And apart from that, you can use Flutter dev tools. They're really great and they work on web as well, okay? And for more thing, you can run your Flutter on mobile also to find out RAM and other stuffs, okay? And you can use same thing on the web as well. They sometimes do mislead, but not with great percentage reflection. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
One more question. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. There's one. So if you have any question that you want to ask me, please connect on me on LinkedIn, Twitter. Okay. And don't just say hi. Post all your questions.
Hi. Hello. Sorry to interrupt. So my question is, how fast is Flutter compared to other languages.
Really fast after downloading Flutter.js.
I mean, in percentage wise, if you are
So that's what I'm saying you. Once all the files are downloaded, Flutter is really fast, okay? Because it compiles all your Dart code to JavaScript, right? So if you are written good or you have used good DSA, data structure algorithms, then your Flutter is good. And if you don't have much thing in your application like loading page, showing widgets, then anyway it is faster. So whatever performance you get on mobile, you will get same thing on the web as well, depending on the device capability. Okay, so that's it. If you have more questions, please connect me either outside or connect me on LinkedIn or Twitter. Okay, cool. That's my time. Okay, let it load. Okay. Okay. But it's not ended yet. Okay. So you can follow me on Vivek Y 259259. Okay, Vivek Y. Don't call me Vicky directly. Okay. So Vivek Y 259259. Okay. Google Developer Expert and Tech Lead at Tata Neu. But wait, there's some more thing. Just 1 minute.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. So let it load. Okay. What do you see here? Any cases? Anyone can stand up and shout. Add. Add by? Flutter. So Flutter is actually doing a lot of advertisement on web app. Okay. So this is just to make sure, or basically to ensure you that Flutter is investing heavily in Flutter Web as well. Okay. And if you are starting or if you want to do or test out if Flutter Web is good for you or not, if you want to do some experiment in Flutter Web, then yeah, this is the right time. You can do that. And if you have anything which says yes from a previous slide, then you can use Flutter Web right now in production as well. Okay, so that's it from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vivek, for this wonderful session. So guys, I want to hear from you. I hope you have loved it, right? How is it? Wow, superb.